Hey guys, how you doing?
How's it going, everybody? Happy Friday.
Good to see you. Thanks for coming.
How's it going, Sonia?
No button up, yeah. We went casual today. Well, he's always casual.
Yeah, we
But
got casual a little bit.
But I went casual.
Cool, well, good, you guys. Well, we're glad to be back, and we made it through another week, believe it or not.
Tough. A lot going on, and excited to kind of chat with you today and kind of go over some things. So, yeah, no button up for me. Actually, do you guys know who this is? Right here?
Yeah, exactly. Machete murderer.
Yeah. I will give you a clue. There you go, the shadow.
There you
All
go.
right. So, anyway, we're gonna go over.
Trivia first, man.
Yeah, we're gonna go over trivia.
Yeah.
And got some new stuff for you this week. I toned it down a bit because last week I think it was a little bit hard. But we'll go over it and go over some of the rules and get you guys going.
Yep. And man, we sent out the shirts this week. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. For those of you who won last week, I couldn't believe the different places that we're sending them to. All over the world. So we have a very varied broadcast. You guys tune in from everywhere. So no restrictions there. If you guys get the shirts, send Sonia a snapshot so she can put it up somewhere.
And I will say this week, I'm going to keep it real monotone and low like Ben Stein, because I do see that you guys are posting pictures of me on the web, and so I will try to keep it as monotone and simple as possible.
Good. Can you guys
All
hear
right.
me? Can you guys hear me better now?
All right, I think we're ready.
Good. All right. Well, I guess we have 5 questions today. Go ahead and hit the trivia there.
Mhm.
Drew.
All right, so I'll start off. I'm assuming you guys can hear me. I'll start off. We'll go over the rules. Obviously, it's our obnoxiously hard video game trivia from games we've played and loved. All right, next one. All right, the rules again. You can only win one shirt, and just send Sonia an email. She's going to write down the winners. Again, for multiple parter questions, you got to get all the parts right. First person to get them all right is the one that wins. And let's go ahead and start. All right, first question. This game was the first adaptation of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons for the home computer. What was it called? So basically, there you go.
Next.
All right, Jocelyn, next one. What campaign setting did it use? There you go. Craw.
Craw for the win. Nice one.
Awesome.
Good deal.
Okay, so yeah, actually played that a lot. Spent a lot of wasted hours in that game. So, next question. All right, in this game you are a material defender. What is the name of the game? If you get it based on this, I may have to think of some kind of bonus because that's a hard one. Not The Last Starfighter.
Not Prime.
Wow, MMO Unforgiven.
Wow, that's
nice.
cool.
Very good. I'm assuming you Googled it, but yeah. This is actually one of the first ones where you had all the motion controls, and a lot of people actually got sick playing it.
I got sick quite a few times playing that game.
Next one, Drew. So, and this may bring back a little bit. This is the ship that you flew around. You're a little miner, and you had those robots that had the virus. And anyway, good game. Okay. On to the next one.
Good. Now these are where mine start. So, has my questions this time have kind of a flight theme. So which C64 game featured you as a World War II pilot of a biplane, which could shoot down other planes and bomb buildings? Nope, it's Blue Max. Our gave that one gave that one away. So nice. Okay, next question. Any of you guys remember that? This game won Action Game of the Year in 1985 in reader poll and sold 1.5 million copies.
Contra. Wow. Man,
No.
that was a rough game.
Okay, I have to give you another hint. Nope, close. Give him the hint. One more.
Hey,
No. Close, but no cigar. The next one is, it was made by an unknown game designer. That's not it. Named Sid Meier. That's not it.
Okay.
Yep, Click did pull it out. Strike Eagle. F-15 Strike Eagle. It was not Strike Force. John was calling for the Strike Force. But
Yeah, I was pulling for you.
Nice,
I was like,
man,
man,
really
that's
good.
pretty close.
How many of you guys knew Sid Meier made that game? Yeah, Sid Meier, man, one of his first games. He was unknown back then. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, awesome.
But man,
awesome game.
I spent so many hours playing that game. I would geek out and can you guys see us? I mean, you can't see us, but can you hear us? Okay, good.
All right.
Good. So let's hit the answer to that one. Drew, hit the answer only, please. So yeah, I guess Click, man. Click's on a roll. Click's got good taste in games. I can tell he's played a lot of the same games I have. So I was actually saying that before the sound went out that Click is sick. So I spent many nights playing that game. I probably shouldn't tell you guys this, but I geeked out. I would crank up the Kenny Loggins Danger Zone and play that game all night long, man. It was awesome.
Oh, what a nerd.
So yeah, what a nerd. Anyway, so let's go for the next one. See what you guys got.
All right, so there's the box.
Yeah, you guys remember that one. Okay, what arcade game could you be hit in the head with pots or pooped on by birds? No. Nope. One more. King Kong actually makes a cameo in this game. Anyone? It's not Rampage.
It's not Rampage.
Crazy
Whoa.
Climber, Mr. Longhair. I guess Lemon King, though, if he doesn't have a shirt, he would be the second place. By a hair, I gotta say, man. Good job.
We're gonna have to get a second counter on this thing.
Yeah, that was close, but good job, you guys.
Awesome.
Crazy Climber. So good job, guys. So sounds like some of you have great taste in video games. So you spent many a day at the old arcade. Mm-hmm. My mom would drop me off at the arcade with a fistful of quarters that I earned from doing my chores, and boy, it was on then, man. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
So good.
So, good stuff. So we wanted to start off. We have some things that are on the boards, some questions we want to run over. We're going to open it up to you for you guys to bring any questions to the table, and just kind of go from there. So
we got to talk about the testing first. I want to say something about that.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So before we get into opening it up to you guys for things, I know a lot of you guys want to know about the testing. So I just wanted to give a little bit of overview for the testing. We tested for a full about 5 days. It was really limited testing, you guys know this time. We got awesome feedback. I can't thank you guys enough for the feedback. Those of you who are in the first beta, thank you so much for helping us out with that. The combat, there was a lot of little glitches and things that we're sorting out right now. We've actually have a pretty good bug tracker, and we're having the programmers and engineers look at those, and they're getting sorted out. So that's the one thing that John and I are adamant about that has to be really responsive and really good in this game is the combat. We feel pretty good about a lot of the other stuff we'll talk about today, the crafting and other things, but we're sorting that out. We have a lot of other things in the coming week to test, and that brings up phase 2. So we have a few other things we've been working on this week as well, but we want to start phase 2 next week, and we'll announce the day. Sonia will probably announce it, but it'll probably be closer to the middle of the week, just so you know. We're coming up with, it's going to be a more extensive test, but once again, the focus will still be on crafting.
Yeah, and one of the things
on combat. Sorry.
Yeah, and one of the things about the combat is we wanted to start off and get a good baseline for the abilities, so that the damage was consistent, the responses were fairly good as far as people inputting, the servers hitting it actually responding, it feeling like you were actually impacting it. And so a lot of what's being tested now and will be pushed out in the next phase of testing are the advanced abilities and some of the ones that will give you some of the burst ability. But we wanted to have a good baseline for you guys and when we're playing the game, so it's not something that was too long or too short. So that's one of the things that we've been maximizing and working on to bring that to you. And then, I don't know, did you want to touch anything on the guild?
No,
Okay.
we can talk about that if they want to talk about
Okay.
it, but yeah.
All right. Any other updates, or you just want to go to the questions?
Unless they have other questions about that, we can go into that. So what do you guys want to talk about? Any other questions about how testing is going, or? Yep, Guild web page status. We have a couple other web things that have come up this week, so it's super close. We were thinking about launching it today, but we'll probably wait just to be sure and test it over the weekend. So you can expect that Monday or Tuesday next week, Unforgiven.
Yeah, and about healing, one of the things that there's been some questions about that we had to, on the initial testing, the initial phase, since we only allowed you to access the Rodon, we actually had to set it up so that healing was a little bit disengaged, because you'd be able to heal your target that you're trying to kill. So you will see a lot more healing testing going on once you have the multiple factions out there and we get you in there together. So it's something that you'll get a better idea of the different types of healing, whether it be a channel type heal, whether it be a hot, whether it be a direct heal. So those are all in there, and those you'll get a better idea of. But initially on the testing, we had to disengage that so that you weren't constantly healing the guy you're trying to kill. So I don't want to be coy about that, but that's one of the things that we can't really get a good grasp on it until you guys are testing all the multiple factions in with each other. Some of the questions that did come up, and we'll toss these in with what you have, were in regard to crafting and other things. I don't know if you wanted to take some, but we've got lots of questions, so we'll just probably take them from you and splice in the ones that we see.
Yeah, so we have a lot of crafting ones. It seemed to be the focus of at least what Sonia sent us. We've been reading a lot of the threads as well on the forum, so we can go pretty much wherever you guys want to take it. But the focus is still going to be combat, guys. We didn't want to show off, obviously, or fraps any of what the testing was, because it's not ready for prime time, so to speak. So, but it's getting there very quickly. So I would expect a lot of videos to start coming out in the next couple weeks, I would say. We feel really good about the gameplay, the rest of the game, and the other aspects of the MMO aspects, if you will, the open world and all the things you can do. But the combat has got to be spot on. We know that that's the thing that you guys really are waiting for and wanting. So we want to make sure that's the thing that takes a lot of time to perfect.
Right, and Pedro, to your question, that we wanted to take a look at primarily right now the damage flow. One of the things that we didn't want the game to be is overly damage focused or overly heal focused. We didn't want a healer to basically make it so the people that did damage basically could never ever kill anyone. But we also wanted to make it so that the healers weren't ineffective. So to your point, Pedro, the primalist and the healing classes, depending on how you specialize, can have anywhere from, say, 4 to 7 actual healing type abilities. But currently there only is one, and that's one of the mechanics that the other ones feed off of that on how it works from a coding side. So a lot of the information we got on Biofuse helps us understand the different client relationships, the server relationships, how the healing needs to work so that it's effective and it's responsive. Since we're having combat and damage be so responsive, we have to have the healing the same way. So once we get that good archetype nailed down and proven, we've already got the other ones in the game, but we just want to make certain that how we're going to bridge all these together is clear. So there will be multiple heals. It won't just be one thing. And the healing spec classes will have the most heals in the game.
And I guess Zarian is kind of kicking off the crafting professions type discussion. He asks, what's the limitation of Prime? Is it allocated to facilities owned by guilds or harvested? And it is harvested. The limitation on Prime is that it's super scarce, as all of the sought after materials in the game are. You have to harvest them, and a single player can harvest it, but Prime is the most scarce of all, and that's what we're tuning right now, is how much you can harvest and how much is actually in the world. As a lot of you guys have seen in the other videos, discussions that we've had, that it depletes and it replenishes, and it's just a matter, we're testing that actually internally now, as the harvesting aspect, how often the world replenishes and how much you can actually harvest. And how much a harvester can hold is even a thing we're talking about. So It's all being tested right now. And we feel pretty good. Like I said, we feel really good about that testing. You guys will get into that and start testing that probably as of next week, some of the harvesting aspects. But the combat is the thing that we really want you guys to hit. Yeah.
There was a question about skill points used for abilities and the crafting points. They're on two different systems, so you're not going to skill up one at the expense of the other. They're both actually going to skill up independently. Let's see.
Good. So you want to run through some of these other ones? Or?
Yeah, sure.
So we got several.
So
We had a lot of questions about schematics and crafting. You guys want to go over those? What do you think? There was
so.
ones about when someone steals a schematic, they are copying it correct, not removing it from the victim's library, and that is correct. You don't purge the other person of their schematic. You just kind of swipe the information for yourself.
Right, and to that point, there was also a question about lifting the schematics. If you are dead, you're not going to be able to have your schematics lifted when you're dead. So the player does have to be alive. And there was also a question about lifting schematics from your own faction. That is not the case. We don't want faction infighting, or we don't want people stealing from their own faction. So you can trade those, but you will not be able to steal from your own faction. Although some may want to.
And is there a way to unlearn a schematic to prevent it from being a victim of theft? Nope, there is not a way to unlearn one. Once it's in your library, you know it for life. And let me see here. Will there be any incentive for high-level crafters to be in PvP zones where their schematics might be stolen, like bonuses? It's a big part of the game, obviously, so I guess the bonuses being there, obviously in a lot of the more difficult zones are where some of the most sought after and rare elements will be that they'll want. Now, obviously as a crafter, as someone who's of a profession, there's a lot of ways to come about the materials that you need to craft. I mean, you could be barter with other people that are out getting it for you and want you to make certain things, and or else you could go to the zone yourself.
Yeah, and there was a question about, just to be clear, the goal of the game is harvesting or accessing or gathering prime. It's not necessary by any means. One of the things that we looked at is there's lots of players that just want to get in and play the game. They're not interested in crafting. They're not interested in the touchy feel. They just want to get in and kill people, which is understandable. So you can do that. You don't, if you want in the game, you never ever have to touch prime if you don't want to. However, it's a valuable resource, and if you want to better yourself, obviously crafting and things like that, gear, which is related to crafting, you're going to probably want to have access to it at some time, just as a mean of bartering or gaining currency so that you can improve your character.
Well, that's the thing, guys. I mean, it's an MMO. We're trying to make it a big open world. There's tons of different ways. You guys will probably think of dozens of ways that we haven't even thought of yet for you to deal with your fellow man in the MMO, other than just PvP. And so if you don't want to do the crafting, obviously, two things I'd have to say to that. It's pretty easy to throw down a harvester. You guys saw how easy it is in the video, and let it get stuff for you and make a living, so to speak. But you better be pretty decent at dealing with your fellow man if you're not going to pick up prime at all. You know, you better be good at talking to people and getting what you need that way, and bartering and things like that. But there's a lot of different ways to do it.
And one of the things we've seen as well is that in the game, I mean, it's entirely possible, and we've seen these things happen, is that you can have mercenaries. So if you don't want to actually go out and harvest prime or things like that, you could be a soldier for hire. You could barter your services for prime or for money or for whatever. But there's definitely things that we've seen. The player base will be more than resourceful to gain prime in multiple different ways.
Yep. Good. So let me see here. Will the victim have any way of knowing that one of his schematics was taken? Not really. I mean, nope, it's not in there to know that. I guess if you get shot with the same weapon you have a schematic for, I guess you'd figure it out real quick that someone else has that schematic. But there's no, unless you catch the person doing it, you know, because you obviously have to be cloaked to do that. So
Yeah. There's a question about how long does it take to retrieve resources from the harvesters. Harvesters will have a set gather rate, a set fill rate, so and a capacity. So it's ultimately variable. So depending on how many you have, the areas that you're in, the types of resources that are there. Some resources you'll be able to gather faster than others. Some will be of a better grade than others. So it's variable, but ultimately you'll be able to put it down, go do other things, come back and get your harvester, and utilize the materials you found in the harvester.
You guys are pretty funny on these questions. How many times has the prime must flow been uttered in the office? I think that's a forms only statement. I'm not sure.
Although I will say that you guys, our devs definitely do look at the forums, and that has increased since you guys have kind of made that a standard term. So keep going.
Yep, good. And let me see here. Good. So
one of the things too, there were questions, and I won't state a specific ability, but there are cool abilities that only specific classes will have, and that's by design. And we want to have value in the given classes and the abilities they have. So someone might say, hey, well, that's really cool. Why don't these other classes have that? And at the time being, currently, we don't intend to cross-pollinate all the classes to have all the abilities. So that gives some value to the different things that each of the classes can bring to the table. So not that I guess we would ever go that route, but we really like the idea of each class being unique. And in designing, we literally sit down and say, how can we make this class cooler? So I would have a hard time picking between this and between that. I mean, case in point, the Berserker and the Hunter-Killer, I don't, in my history of game playing, normally play those types. But when I sat down, I'm like, wow, I'd really have a hard time normally playing a healing type to play those because they look so great. I'd really want to take a stab at them. So right now, we're definitely going to be able to have the different abilities stay with the other classes, and that's the plan for the time being.
Okay, good. And yeah, Zarian's got it right. All space games use credits.
Yeah.
Come on, there's no gold in our game. I guess there's gold as a material. You could use that.
There is gold.
There is gold for harvesting.
Right, and one of the things we're interested to see you start to barter a lot more with actual materials and trading and things like that to accomplish things and get more resources so that you can make better materials or better crafted goods. To improve your characters, so.
And no, 25 copper doesn't get you 1 credit.
Although there is copper in the game.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, well, and excess, I think we've talked about this a little bit about our plans, but what is our plans on expansions or simply more content? We have a lot of plans for additional content, even further than what we're developing for launch, obviously. So it's going to be a type of game that you log in and you want to see new things all the time, and that's what we're trying to do. So there'll be a lot of other content as opposed to just an expansion. I think that's one of the benefits of having a subscriber-based game. We can keep adding more content.
Mm-hmm. There's a question about server types. They're all basically PvP, since that's the end game. Not to saying at some point there might not be different ones, but the archetype for how the game's been developed, all servers at this time will replicate that same set of rules. We thought about role play, but we thought it'd just be easier to give you guys an inn that you guys could all sit in and walk around, and that might give us the same effect as a role play server.
Okay, cool. Well, Hot Swap said, how do we get around besides jetpacks? So I guess I'm taking it in a big area, how you jet around. Well, right now jetpacks are the mode of transport, and I will say that they have a lot of, they're pretty fast, Hot Swap. They're pretty quick. So depending upon which one you get, Obviously, there's different levels of jetpacks you can get, and if you got a pretty fast one, you won't have any problems getting around.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
So, who are you kidding, Sonia? Weekly, daily? Good.
Let's see. There was a question about CC brakes or specifically the override ability, and will it only affect one thing? Currently, the override will affect all methods of crowd control, and right now that's the plan, and you're able to manage that cooldown with the skill points that you input, and so that ultimately determine how often and how much you can break crowd control. Let's see here.
Good.
Let's see.
Right now, Pedro asked bases static or movable. Right now, they're static in that they're pre-positioned around the zones near rich areas, I guess, so to speak. There's a lot of them. Dominus itself has over 10 different bases that can be overtaken. Mm-hmm. And the movable part, I guess, they're movable in that you can destroy them and put your faction's bases there, but they're not where you put them down. You can put bases down, but they are predetermined, so to speak, in a general area you have to be in.
Yep. Jocelyn asked a question about how much PvE are we going to see that's instance, and will there be entire dungeons? There's not a lot. I will say that the portions that we have to where you would go into an instance setting are not a standard 10-minute instance type run. They're going to be more involved, and they're definitely pretty cool as far as the settings, the length, and the different things that we've got planned that you'll see in them.
How big is the general area, Craw? It's pretty big. Each faction, now mind you, remember, each faction has their own unique maps and areas that they're starting at. There is some travel between maps. There's the mode of transport, once you get them, is not flight path, it's more teleport, space game, so you can have your teleporter teleport you around the map, so that they're that big. But or you can jetpack around as well. For the structure building, okay. So how big is the general area for the structure building? You mean where the bases go down, Craw?
Like Dominus? Are you talking just a specific area or the entire zone? The entire zone is very large.
Yeah.
The area is specific. So you're not going to be able to just put bases anywhere. I think we talked to this a little bit last week. But there'll be set areas that you'll put the bases at and the structures, deciding on what you want. But the zone of Dominus is quite large.
And bases right now have 7 different types of structures you can put down, and they all have their purposes. And they are like over 10 right now in Dominus that have it. And so each one of those big bases you have to run for a while to get to the next one. So there is a strategic way of defending your base.
Yeah, and when thinking about the bases, think of it more like an RTS feel. So you're not building a structure that you're going to have hallways and channels and moving from one to the next. That you will be able to go in some of the buildings, but by and large, you're calling down these buildings that will help you out with a specified thing, and you can vary or decide which ones you want to bring down.
Okay, cool.
And Stupid asked the questions, are they 7 different structures or an upgrade? There's 7 different structures, and there is a path to get to the 7. Similar to a chain you might see in some RTS elements, to where some are required before you can do other ones.
And Giz said, who determines what structures get placed down? The person who gets to the area first, You basically have an area, and the person who gets there, if it's Probably pretty rare, but if it's unmanned, you can call down a structure, and if there's something there, you have to destroy a opposing faction's base. But whoever really calls it down is the one who gets the chance to do that.
On Prime 2, you asked how many total bases can be up at one time, and by base, we're talking multiple structures. On Dominus, it's in the double digits as far as the number of base systems or these groups of up to 7. So there's a lot of them.
Yep. Okay. Duck Mandus was worried about someone putting crap bases up. There is a way of doing it that is beneficial to you, but at the same time, I mean, they're not really any bad structures, so to speak. So I don't think they'd get away with too much of that.
I guess it's possible that you could gimp yourself by doing things a specific way, but ultimately I think the learning curve will be pretty quick on the best ways to do things, and you'll be able to see. You'll want to be running with people in the PvP areas, so ultimately people will figure it out.
Jackknife says, how do you destroy the structures? Explosives or just pew pew? Well, you do have your own abilities at your disposal, so it is a personal thing. You get up close and personal to the bases. We actually have a couple other ways right now that can supplement that, though, Jackknife, that we're not testing or talking about yet. But yeah, so it's brute force.
Yep. And let's see here. Currently, as far as the guild claiming of the bases, it's just one. We don't want someone to have just a massive area and they end up taking over the entire map, and it's kind of raining on everybody else's parade. So currently it's set up to be one, and ultimately we'd look at that, but that's not to say that multiple guilds and alliance couldn't have different bases.
Giz asked, are there any cinematics during the game? I think you got used with. Maybe you should be on a different chat forum there, Giz. No, we don't have cinematics during the game, so unfortunately.
There was a question about will there be quests in the game? No, but there will be missions. So it's important that I make that differentiation there for you.
Yep. Prime to you, is there a guild cost to having a base? Not currently. There is, the only cost really associated with that is a mechanic right now we're toying around with, the ability to call the bases down faster if you put money or credits up for that. But no, once you have them there, they're just defensible. You have to defend them. That's the cost, is having people there to defend them.
Yeah, and XS asked a question about progress beyond capping or maxing. That we have plans for that, and there's a few different systems that we have in mind for that. Ultimately, a lot of that will be driven by how people get there, what they do, and what's needed. But we don't want this to end up just being a race that you continually keep striving for something higher, that once you get there, it just feels like you've bottomed out and there's no real improvement. So that's something that we definitely have plans for, and that we've designed out and laid out, but we'll take a look and see how the initial run goes.
The base resources are upgraded. We're trying to pick out ones that hadn't been answered before.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of ones that I think that were from before.
Yeah, and I think one of the things too, just so you guys know, is there are things that you can go back and look at the other videos, or check on the forums. Our community's been really good. If you have a question that, not to sound coy, but is more of a basic question about the game, check out the forums, because you'll get a lot of the feedback there, and our community's been great at helping everybody else out to understand what it's all about.
Villist asked, are base turrets automatic or manual control? Right now they're automatic, but I answer that just because right now we're trying to give it manual control. So that is something we're toying around with right now, Villist. I can't promise that will be in at launch. Yeah. Right now they're just automatic target. If you have it there, it defends your base if someone gets in radius of it. But we would love to have the players actually be able to log into a terminal and control it. So.
Carl Cry asked a question about moving harvesting vehicles, which to us is a little bit kind of like a play game button. So ultimately, we don't want to have something that almost kind of bots for you. Right now, we figure the best way around is you go out, find the spots, and we give you multiple options. But there aren't necessarily any plans to have a moving harvesting vehicle that'll go do that for you.
Good. Good. Sardukar said, are any realm abilities like being able to call down an orbital bombardment? We have plans for realm type abilities, Sardukar, but to answer your question straight up, not right now. There are some classes that have some interesting abilities like that, of what you're saying, but they're not really realm earned. So as we move on, a lot of you guys have been asking how we would evolve the game. There are possibilities that we could add different abilities that can be earned on the fields of PvP, so to speak.
Yeah. And Cry, I do actually see your point. All I'll say to that is stay tuned. We're not necessarily going to disclose anything more about that, but I will say stay tuned on that.
Unfragged asked, is the game still on target for this year? Yeah, we're working our tails off. We'd love to get you guys in the game sooner than later, and we're working for that. So we're gonna have more. We'll have more info on that forthcoming.
Let's see. I think that's a combination.
Good ones, guys. Well, I guess we'll just. You guys have got Sonya whipped into a frenzy.
Yeah, totally. So there was a question about benefits, resources, upgrades of claiming a base. You'll see that forthcoming. That the benefits that you'll see will be to some extent for the faction as we roll out, and you see what they specifically do, and you'll see how it makes sense for it to be more faction driven.
Good. So I guess we'll open it up with any last questions about the test. Just want to say that we'll see a lot of you in the phase 2 type stuff next week. We're really looking forward to getting some more tests. It won't be. We'll actually start you out a little bit more ungeared or unequipped than we did this time. This time we just wanted you to get in there and shoot each other and work out the bugs. But this next time it'll be a little bit more of a starter area, and you'll have to work your way through. I want to qualify that though, because once again, we are targeting very specific things in these tests. So even though it may seem that it's not totally complete, we have a lot more done than what we're letting on that, and we want you guys to test the combat and kind of some of the progression next time. And so we'll be really anxiously waiting to see your feedback on that.
Yeah, and there is a question about putting markers on the devs. Some of the devs are smart enough to put a marker on themselves that says they're a dev, and they quickly get beat down. So some of them do, some of them do not. But if you do see a dev marker, they are definitely a dev. So let's see.
Good.
The focus on phase 2 will actually be more going through the game. We always want you to be checking out the areas, looking for anything we can improve upon, but we'll be testing a lot more of the systems aside from the combat. But one of the things we really want to take a lot of time on is the combat, because it's such a key to the game. So it'll be more like you're progressing through it, like Warren said. But there'll be a lot of different things you can look at.
We'll pass that info on, Unforgiven. I'm sure we'll be glad to oblige you. Good, but yeah, Pedro, the Phase 2 won't be entirely combat at all, but it won't be a complete game. It is going to be more focused, although you'll have multiple things to do. You'll be able to harvest and things like that, but it won't be the complete crafting and all that. We don't want you to get mixed up in that yet, so that's the thing.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, Pedro asked about colorblind options. No, not at this time. I mean, the UI is what it is. We have we've been getting really good feedback on that from Sonia, and so we are considering it. We want to change the UI color, and we're incorporating a few other suggestions that have come from the forum. So those kind of things haven't gone unheeded. So just so you know, the guys who are worried about the colorblind type thing.
And, go ahead. I was just going to say that if you can help us out, one of the things we've tried to do and tried to focus your feedback on are suggestions rather than things that we can do to improve that. So if you have suggestions or if there are things that help us get to something that works for you, and we can utilize that for everybody that would have that concern, then we definitely want to look at that.
Yeah. And I'm going to see if I can, let me see if I can scroll back here a little bit. I'm trying to. Okay, and Bloody Little actually has been asking about kill spam. And I don't want him to think that I'm just avoiding that question. I've played a bazillion MMOs, and obviously you guys can tell from our obnoxious trivia, we've played everything. But I honestly I'm not following what that is. Maybe John knows what that is. I'd love to answer it for you, but I'm not, if you could just tell me, I'm not trying to ignore your question, Blaley. He keeps asking about kill spam, and I don't really know what you're asking. So if you could tell me what it is, we'll address it, you know.
I mean, to a certain extent, you will. I mean, one of the things, and I'll just be honest with you, especially.
Oh, I see.
Especially in early or
Counter-Strike, huh?
Yeah, or well, one of the things, and I think some of the people that played another 3-faction MMO are alluding to is a lot of times that's one of the ways you would see and know who you were interacting with. And actually in that game it was really the only way because you couldn't see the name. So it's something that right now it's in there, and so it's definitely part of it. We don't have any plans to take it out.
Yeah.
You'll see more kill spam.
It's within a range, though,
Yeah,
Bloody. It's within a range. You don't see it over the whole exact map. It's within distance, so you have to be in the thick of the battle to see those.
Yeah, it's not going to be something for everybody everywhere, but it's definitely, as a gamer, it's kind of cool to know who you killed. So.
Yep, cool. So I saw that going by, and I didn't know what you were talking about, so sorry about that.
All right.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Good. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up a tiny bit early today. We want to get back to getting the beta test going, and we have some surprises for you. I'll just leave it with this. I'm sure we'll have lots of stuff to talk about next week. After you see the stuff that's going on next week, I'm sure you guys will want to tune in and ask us all kinds of crazy questions. So thanks a lot for taking your time to talk with us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And asking all these questions. We really appreciate you guys, and we're going to get back to work.
Yeah, and I'll leave it on a final note. Thanks for everything you're doing on the forums. Keep bringing the people along, and appreciate you telling your friends. We've seen a lot of people sign up, and a lot of it now is, hey, my friend told me, or I heard about you from a guildmate or a buddy. So we appreciate that. We love that, and we want to make certain that we're catering to you guys because you're a populace. But help out the new people on the forum and make certain that we grow this community because it's going to be awesome.
All right, guys. Thanks. We'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks.
Take care.
Bye-bye.